I, 30, had to protect my husband's niece from a pit bull while my husband, 31, ran off. I am still pretty shaken up by what happened, so please bear with me. A friend helped set up this account because I am not a frequent poster. I haven't even asked if the pit bull made it, and I am not sure I want to know. My husband, his niece, 5 years old, nephew and infant, and I were in our backyard. I assumed the gate was open, but I can't remember for sure. Out of nowhere, a pit bull appeared and latched onto his niece. She screamed, and I instinctively turned around and kicked it with all the force I could muster. Luckily, I managed to hit it in a way that dislodged its jaw. My husband, who was standing a few feet away, shouted something like, "Whose dog is this?" Panicking, I told him to grab the bear spray from inside the house. I always keep it in my purse for emergencies like this. But instead of running to get the spray, my husband ran out through the gate and closed it behind him, leaving us inside. Meanwhile, the baby was in an outdoor bath. I frantically threw the bassinet onto a picnic table to keep the dog from reaching him while trying to protect his niece. I placed her on top of our BBQ grill, thinking it was safer than trying to carry her. I am short, and I was afraid the dog could grab her from my arms. The pit bull was jumping and snapping, going absolutely wild. I ran for a shovel and swung at it until it finally stopped. In the chaos, I didn't even realize I'd been bitten twice. I haven't spoken to my husband for a full week, even though we live in the same house. He only came back a few minutes later after running away, packed us into the car, and drove us to the hospital. He is angry now, accusing me of giving him the silent treatment, but I can't shake the feeling that if he had just grabbed the bear spray like I asked, maybe I wouldn't have had to hurt the dog. It is really messing with my head because I am an animal lover, but in that moment, it was pure survival. It doesn't help that I don't even like kids, and we were babysitting because he offered. We don't have any of our own, and I am staunchly child-free. So the whole situation feels like a nightmare I never wanted to be in. Is this enough to consider a divorce? I can't even look at him. Any attraction I had for him is gone. Yesterday, he tried to touch me just to move past me in the hallway, and I instinctively smacked his hand away like he was a stranger. I wasn't expecting him to be some macho hero, but at the very least I thought he'd help. He just left us there. Me, a toddler, and an infant in a life-and-death situation. Should I be more understanding, or is this kind of abandonment a deal-breaker? I don't even know if I want to hear his explanation. Update. My friend said people often update their posts, so here I am. Thank you to everyone who reached out with kindness and support. I am sorry for anyone who's gone through something similar. I can tell you, it hasn't been easy. For those concerned about my mental health, I did manage to get a virtual therapy session through an app from my workplace. It felt more like an introductory meeting, but the therapist was very understanding and noticed I was tensing up every time I talked about the attack. Last night I told my husband I needed space. I wasn't as nice about it as I wanted to be, but I was emotionally exhausted after the therapy session. He argued, didn't want to leave, this is my house, but I told him I just couldn't stand to look at him. He cried, and I felt nothing. I don't know if it's the exhaustion or just being over the whole situation, but his tears did nothing for me. His sister and her husband are not speaking to him either. I think they asked him where he was during the attack while we were at the hospital, but whatever he said, it clearly didn't satisfy them. His niece was discharged from the hospital yesterday, which was another emotional trigger for me. I sent flowers, a bear, and a toy she wanted, but I was afraid to visit in person. I didn't want to scare her more. His sister and her husband sent me flowers in return, which made me cry again. The father even sent me a long, heartfelt message I haven't been able to finish reading, because it is too emotional for me right now. They also sent me a $1,000 Visa gift card, which left me stunned. They are good people, and I still feel terrible that I couldn't do more for their daughter. The whole thing keeps replaying in my head. As for my marriage, I haven't filed for divorce yet, but I am leaning towards it. I know that fight-or-flight responses are instinctual, but I think I've realized I don't want to be with someone who would leave me behind. I want a partner who would stand by my side, not run away. Maybe he'd be better off with someone who understands his reaction, but it's not going to be me. Right now, I am just glad to have some space to think things through.